Yeah. So, from a format standpoint, practice-wise, the first week we went Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then we came back and went Monday, Wednesday, Friday last week and took a little bit of break for Easter weekend. Brought the guys back yesterday for meetings and a little bit of a walkthrough, and then we really got after it at today's practice. When you get 3 days off, that's when we feel like we can really start pushing ourselves, extending more reps at a more longer period of time. The cool part of this part of spring is we're really starting to incorporate the game of football, right? Third downs in, red areas in. We introduced 2-minute today, so now we're starting to work the facets of the game, not just installation, and you can really start to learn about some of that stuff. So this was a hard practice. It was a tough practice, but it was good for the guys. They needed it. We'll be a little lighter on Thursday, and then ramp it up for a pretty good practice/scrimmage on Saturday.
Raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get a mic to you. Start with Danny over here on the far left.
Steve, from what you've seen so far with your practices, how has Kenny Baker kind of fit in, and how are your players reacting to his coaching style and all that?
I think they're responding really well to him. One thing Kenny provides is a ton of energy, a ton of juice. He's a really good technician, and not just kind of the interior defensive lineman. He's got a lot of pass rush to his repertoire, so his ability to coach that as well on top of the scheme. But I think it's his energy, what he brings in trying to develop every player in that room. It's easy just to coach the guys who have been here 3 and 4 years, right? We got to coach them all. We're trying to develop all of our players, and I think Kenny has really bought into that, and I think all the guys in that room understand that and are working to get better.
Kirk?
Steve, which of your freshmen are not looking, acting, practicing like freshmen, or any of them already taken the leadership role?
You're talking the true freshmen, guys who just arrived? Oh, man. Probably too hard to tell yet, right? That if any guy's just stepping into a leadership role. I do think they're all working hard. When you get to practice 7, there's a lot on their plate right now. When you think about, if you're an offensive player, all of the offense that we've installed, then you're trying to diagnose and understand all of the defense, and then put all those two things together, and then understand that we critique effort first, right? We're looking at your effort first, and then we worry about fundamentals, technique, and things of that nature. So they're all working really hard. I don't have a complaint about any of those guys. They're all doing a really good job. I've been pleased with what they're putting into it, but I don't know if any of them have really kind of ascended to like a leadership role yet. I would say the one guy that has probably shown up the most in my eyes would be Ryan Wingo. I feel like the last week he's really starting to make some plays, and you're starting to see the size and speed and athleticism. So that would be the one guy, I guess, that I could point out there.
Far right, Chip.
Steve, I guess coming up on the midpoint of spring, can you just talk about maybe the 3 areas you feel like the team needs to make the most progress?
Yeah, I would have said coming through practice after practice 5, I would have said the run game. I was like, man, we need to get going. And then the last 2 practices, the run game has really started to come to life. And so that's been definitely encouraging. And I would probably have said the same thing, just kind of about the consistency in the passing game. But the last 2 practices, that has shown up. And so I just think that's a little bit offensively of the byproduct of those guys working through base installation and then finding rapport, run timing, but also rapport, quarterback, receivers, tight ends. Naturally, defensively, it's tough to tell because we're not tackling as much, but naturally we want to get more balls out on the ground. We've created a few interceptions, but naturally, one area that I know we want to really improve upon this season is creating those turnovers. And so that's always a challenge there. And then when I tell you that the run game is getting better on offense, well, I think we need to shore some things up run defense-wise, right? If the run game's starting to come to life offensively, then where are the issues defensively? Why is that occurring?
Joe?
With Trey Weisner, could he be someone that, I know you like having your top 2 backs, but could he be someone that finds finds a role similar to the one that Keelan used last year?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Trey has really been really impressive this spring, and I think that started for him the second half of last season. You know, his role on special teams really grew and improved, and he made plays, and he had a couple really big tackles as the year went on for us on teams. I think he got some confidence. The one thing about Trey, he is right there at the top of hardest workers on our team. I mean, that guy goes for it every day, every rep, and it's paying dividends for him. And he's been a really good runner. He's catching the ball out of the backfield. He's been great on teams. I think his understanding schematically of what we're doing is growing, and so I do foresee him having a role with us in the fall.
Coach, I'm curious from a pass defense standpoint, what are some of the areas that you've been trying to clean up from this spring to maybe improve upon from last season, and how's that going?
Yeah, we obviously were a really good third down defense a year ago. We were an excellent red area defense a year ago. Ideally, what we're trying to minimize is some of the early down passing game, where first, second down type stuff, especially some of those chunk plays, where how do we clean some of that stuff up to make people earn it down the field. Obviously we've got great scheme and the players have the confidence in the scheme on third down in the red area. We want to make sure we're playing with that same mentality on first and second down.
Eric?
Steve, just a question about the wide receiver rotation. Obviously, it's a long way away from game, so you're not deciding that. But in the past, you've talked about in terms of if you were going to expand that rotation about guys earning your trust.
Yeah.
Does that process start now for guys like Niblett and Wingo and DeAndre Moore, and just kind of talk about that a little bit?
For sure. Again, there's a trust factor, right? That they know what to do, they know how to do it, and they know why we're doing it. But I think too, there's rapport with the quarterback, and looking at efficiency when balls are thrown in your direction. Are they completed, and why not? And which quarterback and things of that nature. And so now is that time. Again, we're not making any game day decisions today, but we do log the information, and then we look for improvement along the way as we go.
Josh, go ahead.
Steve, with the portal window opening again in 2 weeks, have you considered what you might need or how you might attack that portal window in 2 weeks?
I have an idea internally. And we're going to have some real discussions as a staff here in the next week or so because I want to coach the guys that we got. I do think we've got a really talented team. We've got great depth on this team. It's incredible right now that we're two spotting everything, and we're four deep at every position, which is great that we're able to do that. Naturally, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to the portal to say we got to get something, but I'm sure as we'll monitor it, there'll be some decent players that go in. And then do they fit us? And one of the challenges with the portal, which we touched on, I think, a week ago or so, is how do you get to know the player, not just what's on tape, but the person, right? Because, we try to do our best around here not to sacrifice character for talent. And not to sacrifice character for talent, meaning, yeah, he's a really good player, but maybe some of the off-the-field issues don't match up with the player. We've got such a good culture right now, and I think that's part of the reason why we win. We just want to make sure that we do our homework on anybody that we bring into the program this late in the game.
Roger, go ahead.
Quinn talked about the decision to come back. He kind of needed to slow his life down, one of the reasons. Do you notice that with him as close as you watch a quarterback, the maturation process and where he is right now compared to a couple of years ago?
I think so. I think Quinn's really enjoying his time right now, and that's how you should be in year three. When you I referenced this about Xavier a year ago, that it looked like he was having the most fun he had in his 3 years in being here. After year one, just hard charging, trying to get on the field. Year two for Xavier, was a little up and down. He had the broken hand, was dropping some balls. He felt a little of that. Year three kind of came in with a renewed kind of joy for the game and with his teammates. And I feel that with Quinn. Like, he really enjoys his teammates. I think he really enjoys the challenge of getting that rapport with the receivers. I think he's got great rapport with this offensive lineman and those runners. But now, what's that rapport like with those wideouts, with the new tight end, working with Gunner and Amari and that group? So I think he's enjoying it. The fun part for me is I get to keep coaching him hard, and I get to keep coaching him hard on stuff that maybe I wasn't as hard on him with in the past. but that's how you keep pushing a guy to be the best that he can be. And he's taking the coaching, and he's playing at a really high level for us right now.
Time for one last one, back by the cameras. Tyler?
Steve, being the University of Texas, of course, you want to recruit the state of Texas really well. How would you evaluate the state of the recruiting wars with all the other programs in the Lone Star State?
They're tough, a lot of great players in the state of Texas. In my opinion, it's the best football in the country, best coaches. The high school coaches here do a tremendous job developing their players. But everybody in the country recruits the state of Texas. And so there's some great battles. Hopefully, as we continue to build our brand and our development of our players and what we're doing as a team and how our players get treated in our program, that over time that continues to get recognized. But there's some great battles, and if you want to recruit the best players, you're going to be in some heavyweight fights, with some of the best programs in the country.
Thanks, Coach. I know as we wrap and go into Coach Bowman's.
Yeah, I just thought one thing for me, which is this is like just a classic example of the University of Texas. You talk about attracting the best of the best. I think about Bob Bowman and the fact this guy just won a national championship. He's the National Coach of the Year. He's coaching Michael Phelps, and now he's our new swimming and diving coach. Like that's what this place is all about, man. So fired up to be here for him and his introductory press conference. So I'll hand it off to CDC. Appreciate y'all. Hook 'em. See it.